Ross, can we start? Almost, as you can see, 300 questions. I think we can make.
No problem at all.
How are you?
Very, very well. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. We want to know everything. We want to start from your background. You started with motocross, and then you moved to the cross country races. What make you have this decision to move to the cross country races?
Yeah, I raced motocross for many, many years, including racing for 5 years in Europe, doing European Championship and a couple of German Championship races. And I loved it. It was really good. Unfortunately, trying to sustain yourself if you're not winning in Europe was very difficult at the time. So I had to make the decision to come home and start racing for a team. And there was KTM here, and they decided that they think it's good for me to do motocross, but then also to get into the cross country side because they think that I'm going to be good at cross country. So I did one cross country race during the year that I was contracted to the motocross season, and I finished third overall in the South African national round. So they were extremely happy with that, and they thought that I had a bright future in cross country racing. So slowly but surely, I started riding cross country races, and it turned out really, really well. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
You are an airline pilot. Fast in the air, rocket on the sand.
Yeah, I was very lucky growing up. When I wanted to go overseas to race motocross, I was still very young. I was only 14 years old, and the only way I could go overseas is show my parents that I had something for after racing, and that was the only way I could leave school and start homeschooling. So I went and did all my research, and I really wanted to become a pilot, and so. As long as I had the necessary means of becoming a pilot, then my parents would let me go. So I went and did a bit of studying, and I joined a flight school, and I slowly but surely did my license. It took me 5 years to get it, but that's what I really enjoy doing after racing, and I knew that after racing that would be my career. So I'm very happy. I get to fly during the week and race on weekends. It's amazing.
We want to go through your nickname, the Kalahari Ferrari. First of all, on an Italian point of view, using Ferrari we like it.
Yeah.
But a Ferrari in the Kalahari Desert.
Yeah, so it's a really special story and really close to my heart. So basically in the Kalahari they don't have any vehicles or motor cars or anything. So they have a thing called a donkey cart, which is two donkeys and they pull a trailer. And everybody, that's our local tradition is you get pulled on a trailer. And then sometimes we have some really, really fast donkey carts. So then they call them the Kalahari Ferrari because a Ferrari obviously won't go in the Kalahari Desert. So that's the Kalahari. That's the fastest car of the Kalahari, and that's where I got the name. And it actually came from the local people. They gave me the name when they saw me racing through the Kalahari Desert one day, and they said, "No ways, you're the fastest. You're even faster than our vehicles in the desert. So we have to call you the Kalahari Ferrari." And it was really special, and it's such a cool name as well.
I think the Ferrari will be proud of you because no one, I think, I've ever tested a Ferrari in the desert. So well done.
For sure. I hope they would be proud of me. I hope I'm doing them proud.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. Don't worry. Moving to the Dakar. Last year was your first Dakar, right? And you ended up in the 13th position, but the best rookie. This year you try to rise the level, you try to destroy your shoulder, you try to destroy the bike, and notwithstanding you finish in the 21st position. How is it possible? Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's very difficult, obviously, coming from Africa, trying to raise the money to go to Dakar. So I knew I had one shot, maybe maximum two shots of doing Dakar. So I knew when I went last year, I know I just had to finish and get to the finish line and just see where I could stand against the best riders in the world. And then I finished 13th, and I was really happy. And top rookie obviously helped me for going back again. So, the first year was just really to get my feet wet and to try learn as much as I possibly could. And then when I decided to go back, the same sponsors backed me up, and it was a little bit easier to raise the money. And then we decided to give it one last shot. And I knew that I had to go out there and give it everything I had. The sponsors, unfortunately, they couldn't commit for a multi-year deal with me. So they said, listen, we can send you back, but just make the most of it, because we're not too sure how many more years we can carry on doing this, as it's really expensive. So I went there and I just gave it my best possible shot. I rode my motorbike as best as I possibly could, and I really enjoyed it. I had some really up and down days, and obviously winning a stage is the highlight. And to me, it was a dream come true. It's what I wanted to do since a little kid. Watching the Paris-Le Cap in 1992 with my dad when it raced from Paris to Cape Town, I knew that was what I wanted to do one day when I had enough experience. And finally we got stage 2, we got a stage win, and it was an unbelievable feeling. Then going to stage 3, 88 kilometers from the start, I had a big crash and separated my shoulder, and I had a bit of bad luck, and it put us way down the field. But I knew that I still had a lot in me, and that I could still get some really good stages under the belt and learn as much as I possibly could. And at that time I thought, it's going to be really difficult for me to go back to Dakar for a third year, so I've just got to go and give it my all. So riding through the pain and everything, the next day we came out with a fourth, and then obviously with Sam's problem we got moved up to third, which was incredible. Another really, really good progression for me and for the racing in Dakar. And then after that I was just trying to get into the top 10, and we got a couple of good top 5s and then top 10 results, and then a little bit outside of the top 10. So it was really, really good for me. The result 21st overall I wasn't really happy with, but all in all, with the racing as it was, I was so happy coming home. I knew I'd won a stage, and I at least made a mark, so people could hopefully look at me, and hopefully I could get a ride going back for the future. That's obviously the plan.
I'm sure you centered the point, because you have the perfect example, never give up. The toughest race in the world is, and you can still finish without a shoulder, so I don't know how you made it. I switch on a spotlight on you with this. We will all write a petition. You have to be in the Dakar from now on, and an official team. Absolutely. We were suffering for you. We saw the show. We were like, oh my God, now we will stop. No, we'll continue. Don't worry. I have not won. No problem.
Yeah, it's really difficult to sit there, especially when you're by yourself and you've got so many kilometers ahead of you. And I had another 10 days, thousands of kilometers to ride. But I knew, that was, I had to get to the finish. That was my main thing. After having the crash and after winning a stage, I knew, okay, I had some more in me. Just get to the finish. Only 14 days, and then you can rest as long as you want, A lot of things went through my head.
You faced 2 Dakar, one in the South America that was tough for many, many reasons, the altitude, the environment, etc. Then you move the year after to another environment. So how you can compare the two? Which one do you prefer? And how for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I've been asked that many times. I think, for riding, for me, the first time in Peru was really difficult for me, because the other riders had so much experience of riding through South America. So they knew exactly what was coming, what kind of terrain to face, and, the basic layout of the route. And for me, it was really difficult. I had to learn everything and try to learn the navigation. And that was really, really tough. But the riding, I think, in Peru was harder than Saudi Arabia, because the terrain was much tougher. And then Saudi was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a new playing field for everyone, so there's no advantages, there's no disadvantages. But the days were really long. The liaison stages were long, and we had, most stages were 500 kilometers, 450 kilometers, where in Peru they were only 250 kilometers, 300 kilometers racing stage. So, they were both extremely difficult, and I can't tell you which one was more difficult. I just think that the riding part in Peru was harder than the riding part in Saudi. But, I enjoyed both, and being a part of that event, and having so many people follow and ask me questions and send me WhatsApps and say, hey, you're doing so well, that for me that's racing. You're pleasing somebody else, so people are sitting at home and they're rooting for you, and that for me is racing. The fans are still behind the sport in a big way. And that's really good to see. It doesn't matter where we go in the world, you still got the same amount of people watching and following. So
On this Dakar, you got the rules of having the navigation just before the starting, and also it was the first Dakar in Saudi for everyone. So it has been an advantage for you, or a little bit tricky?
I think for me it's the best. I'm so happy with the rules of the navigation and the road book coming out in the morning. I think it's fair for everybody. I think it's safe. You know, the road book was extremely well marked this year. I didn't have any problems with not understanding how the road book was working, and I think it was brilliant. You know, and I think it puts everybody on the same playing field when you get it. The morning of the race, I think it's really fair. The guys can, load it up into your road book. You got enough time. It's not a rush. And you get to go, and I think it slows it down a little bit because the guys, you have to read it as you're riding as well, and they don't understand exactly what's coming. So I think it's really good, and it puts everyone in the same place, whether you're a factory rider, whether you're a privateer like me. I think it was really good, and I even spoke to some of the factory guys, and they were really happy with the idea of getting it in the morning. It makes it more exciting. It gives you a little bit less to do the day before. You don't have to mark the road book and start stressing already.
More panic in the morning. This year, there has been some important crash. Van Beveren and some Sunderland, and unfortunately Paulo Gonçalves. This event affect your concentration when you have to plan? I mean, you started already with the problem on the shoulder, no, in the beginning. So how you managed to go through all this?
Yeah, I think the crash from Gonçalves was extremely, really, really difficult for me, and I think not only for me. There were so many riders that were affected by it. So that was really difficult. We all get on the start line knowing that there's a risk of us crashing, and when we do crash, as long as we can get back to the bivouac, and okay, maybe a broken bone here or there, but the guy's okay, and they're in the hospital, the recovery, and they start the recovery period. Then you can race the next day feeling confident, and that the ASO has done their job because the medical helicopters were there in time, and everybody's gonna get better. But when it comes to Paulo, it's extremely difficult, and there's no words that can really describe what a rider goes through after hearing that one of your friends, when we're out there, we're all extremely close and we're all really good friends. And when one of them passes away, it really hits home, and it was really difficult. The second week for everybody was really difficult. You couldn't really try and focus on that. You knew that the Dakar was carrying on, and you had to go and do the best you possibly could. And as a rider myself, if you'd want the other guys to carry on racing and to say, hey, listen, that's what we do. Everybody signed up, and we love the sport as much as we love each other out there. So it's a really, really difficult thing, and I can't really describe the feelings that I went through, but it was really tough, and it's the first time for me that's ever happened. But it's something. You'll always ride with us, and you'll forever be in our thoughts, definitely. And when you do pass a rider that's even crashed, whether he's hurt or not, it's really difficult to carry on. To get back up to those top speeds that you're doing is tough, because you've just seen somebody crash, and that could be you. But it's all part of the game, and it's all part of racing. So we just have to try and mentally be strong enough to overcome the challenges that are in our way.
You made everyone proud of you when you came back. The people at the airport, the people in your city, what happened?
It was unbelievable, because I think as a rider, when you're over in Dakar, you have your little bubble that you live in, and you don't really know what's going on back home, and how many people are actually following your progress. And when you do arrive home and you walk through the airport doors and there's hundreds of people there, it's like a real big awakening, But what, you guys are all here for me? That's amazing. So it was a really cool feeling, and it just gives you that more motivation, so you don't sit there and think, okay, you can actually know it was the right idea not to give up. I had to push through. It was really tough, and it was like some of the hardest days of my life. But when you walk home and you get home to that, and so many people congratulating you, and I've been to little schools and primary schools where I'm giving lectures and stuff to the kids. It makes it all worth it. It doesn't matter the amounts of pain I rode through. It's all worth it. When I came home, I got to meet the minister, and I got a message from the president So it's really cool, you know, it's unbelievable to get that kind of response back home, and from around the world has been incredible, really.
Yeah, yeah, I saw. Tell us what we can do. We move mountain, but you need to be the Dakar next year. Definitely, definitely.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support. It's amazing.
Yeah, you rose with trust, of course. You know.
Thank you.
Why not Africa Record Race? Or maybe have you thought to compete in the Africa Record Race, or you want to stick to the Dakar for a while?
I'd personally like to stick to Dakar for a while. Definitely, if the dates didn't clash, then I would like to go for the eco race, just because of the history of where it is and where it's held, and that it was the original Dakar. But you know, Dakar's Dakar, and I think it's everybody's dream to race Dakar. So I would definitely like to try and get a few good results through Dakar over the next year or two, and then we could see how it goes. You know, once Dakar's done, then maybe go to do the eco race 1 year. But you know, the focus is on Dakar now and a couple of the World Championship rallies, hopefully. And but we'll see how it goes. That's definitely the plan for now, though.
So we'll see you next year.
I hope so. You know, that's definitely the plan. If I could do rally racing, I would definitely just do rally racing. But you know, we'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks. Like I said, it's really expensive to go over there. I would love to go over. I do have a couple of plans to try and do some more fundraising and everything to get back there. But hopefully something will come up and I can get onto a team that can afford that. You know, that we don't have to go and pay for the whole thing ourselves, but we'll see how it goes. We just keep positive, keep training, and getting the shoulder fixed up and ready to get back on the bike in case something does come up. Then we go in for it.
We want to have other interview with you.
Anytime you got my number, give me a call. I'd love to chat to you guys. I've really enjoyed it, and anything you need, just give me a call.
Thank you very much, and keep pushing.
Thank you guys, and thank you for all the support. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll be there to fly the flag in Dakar 2021. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.